Hey, what's up? Today I put out a couple of different books from my shelves that I read recently. So all of these series here I've read this year, and most of them that I have here are more recent series, so 2020 onwards. This book here is the only one that was published in the early 2000s. So we'll just get into it with this here. Without even saying the name of the mangaka, you might recognize the art style just from the cover, because this was published by Seirin Kogeisha, and this is a manga by Chiaki Nishioka, who is the artist of the Nishioka Kyodai duo. So I did show off a Nishioka Kyodai book, The Day of Salvation, on my channel before. But yeah, Chiaki Nishioka, she illustrated a bunch of things for the poems of Sanae Oshita, who is a poet. They published a set of poems that I'm just reading off the description on their website. It's called Kyupijima, and it was based on something called Kyupina Every Day. I'm not too entirely sure what that means, but in this book, it's a collection of 26 poems and the associated drawings that Chiaki Nishioka did. And this was published in 2003 by Seirin Kogeisha. It's got this, it's quite small, but it's a nice hardcover. And inside, we just have a bunch of different sections of the poems. And let me just pull that up right now. I've just got a couple of notes. In terms of the name, what it means, I think it means like a jellyfish. And in this book, there's a couple of different sections. Just Like Me, Underwater Flower, not sure, I forgot what that was. Toothbrush Faucet Doorknob, Old Well, Like a Rising Clouds, one of them. I was on the top of the tower, something like that. So different sections, different categories, and what it is just each of the poems on the left and the illustration that Nishioka did on the right. So in terms of the stories themselves of each of the poems, I honestly didn't really buy this for the poems. I bought it for Nishioka's art, of course, because I'm a big fan of her art and everything she's done, with her brother Satoshi in the under the name of Nishioka Kyodai. So in this case, it's I did read the poems, not really my thing too much, but in this book as well, we get two color sections. This one is called the Underwater Flower story. It's about, just generally puts, a person who's asked to dive into a lake to find a flower, who they were asked by that girl to do so. But yeah, that was for the first color section. I'll just quickly flip through the rest of the illustrations. Amazing as always. I mean, it's Nishioka Kyodai, Chiaki Nishioka. Very iconic art style, and also this is probably my favorite illustration out of the whole book. Poem titled Bin. Right, so we'll continue on. We've got a little extended story here as well. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure how hard this is to find. I mean, this was published in 2003. I'm not sure if we got any reprints, but it wasn't too bad when I was looking around. Could find a couple. So if you enjoy Nishioka's art style and you want this little hardcover book with large illustrations, then try to find this. This one's the second color illustration section. This is for a story that is called I Was on Top of the Tower, where essentially a woman finds herself, or she is on the top, the pinnacle, the peak of the tower, watching the beautiful things below. And she maintains her balance forever, I think. So yeah, that was the first book, Kurage Sokuri, Like a Jellyfish, by Chiaki Nishioka and Sanae Oshita. So we'll move on to the next one. I guess I will just leave this here. This one is actually, yeah, I'll start with this one. So this is a manga called Nude Model and Other Stories by Tsubasa Yamaguchi. This was published in 2022. And if the art and character designs seem familiar, it's because this is the mangaka who is currently serializing Blue Period. And so if you don't know Blue Period, I highly recommend it. Here it is. It's a manga that follows a sort of delinquent who finds his love and passion in arts, but it's not as simple as that. Pursuing art as a career is not an easy thing. So there's a lot of different obstacles to conquer, and a lot of sort of finding yourself. And all of these students are in high school and some in uni as well. So it's a lot of that. I guess the path of indecision, the path of trying to figure out what you want to do in life. And I think Blue Period is a really good manga for that. Still currently ongoing. I think it just came back from hiatus recently. But yeah, highly recommend Tsubasa's other work. This work is a collection of their other one-shots. 3 stories in here. We've got on the cover the main character of the titular story, Nude Model. And how I would describe this manga, it's definitely in the style of Tsubasa Yamaguchi's stories. The character designs are there as well. Amazing character designs, very poignant and clear and memorable. But I would say the thing that connects all these stories are that it's a lot more shocking. So the events that happen and some of the things that occur in this book are, a lot more shocking. I'm not going to spoil too much of what it is, but just to give a premise for each, this first story is the Nude Model story. It's following a delinquent over here and a quiet girl who is into drawing, developing a bond over nude modeling. And so it starts off by him being dared by his friends to try to pick her up, that sort of thing. But instead what happens is sort of the opposite thing, where we see their relationship develop. But yeah, the first story was a pretty good one. So I won't spoil it too much, but the second story is called Onnanoko, which means girl or woman, I think. But this one is a lot more confronting. There are, just a trigger warning, some very confronting things that happen in this. A lot of traumatic scenes for some characters. And I'm not going to really spoil it too much because you kind of need to read it yourself. But yeah, it is about some characters confronting some very traumatic scenes and trying to overcome that. So yeah, I'll just give you like a brief glimpse of what it looks like from the story. But yeah, I will skip over it because it is quite confronting. I'm not sure if I liked it because that second story was a bit hard to understand in terms of the flow and the pacing of the story. To me, it felt a lot more confusing towards the end and a little bit disjointed. But it wasn't bad. It was just a little bit off for me. But the last story is the longest one. It's split into 2 parts. This is Kamiya. And it's a story that follows this doctor who can't stand the sight of blood, going to this place where she can pay for this vampire to suck her blood, and that's supposed to help her overcome her fear of blood. And this one's probably my favorite story out of everything. It's a very unique relationship, but also the way it's portrayed is very, I would say, fits the mood a lot, of it being a vampire. It's not a black and white thing. There are a couple of different things that happen as well. And the ending is very, very shocking too. So again, I won't spoil the ending. That's the premise of the story. But yeah, I would highly recommend for you to pick this up if you are interested. in the works of Tsubasa Yamaguchi outside of Blue Period, or if you are interested in any of the premises that I've talked about, this is published in English and has been for probably like soon after it was published in 2022. But yeah, Tsubasa Yamaguchi, a very talented story writer. You read Blue Period, you can see a lot of that skill coming out of it. So yeah, we'll move on to the next one now. This one is called Uso no Koromo, which means the fake child or the false child. And so I've got the 3 volumes over here. And there are actually 4 volumes. It only ended just recently. I have finished it, but I'm just waiting for the 4th volume to come. So, False Child. This is a series that was drawn and created by Taku Kawamura, and it was published from 2022 to 2024. So, the premise of this is following, if you see this little girl here, she is a tanuki. So, which is the Japanese raccoon dog, but she's the like the yokai version of them, which are also known as bake tanuki. They have the powers of transformation and shapeshifting. So what the premise of this story is that this tanuki has been mistreated by humans in the past, so they want to take their revenge by making humans cry. That's what they say. And so what it does is that it goes into a house and shapeshifts and transforms into this couple's daughter. But then it turns out that the tanuki had actually transformed and taken the form of the couple's daughter who had unfortunately passed away before. And so the story becomes, so this is the tanuki in its original form, the story becomes this family navigating and trying to sort of live life together, overcoming the loss that they had. So the couple with, if you think about it, you seeing your daughter who has passed away back again, but in a sort of different form, is a very emotional thing that leaves you very vulnerable. And this family, tries to work with that. At first they sort of try to take it as it is, ignore the fact that this is not her, but they sort of cherish having her physically back, that sort of thing. But it is a very emotional manga. Although the premise sounds bittersweet, it does lean towards the more wholesome side of things. So it's not a full cry fest or anything, although you definitely would tear up from a lot of the emotions that they showcase here. So I'm just going to give a little bit more of the premise. It's not really a spoiler. It does show up towards the end of the first volume, but it sets up the rest of the story. So what happens in the story is this woman here, she comes to the parents and notifies them that there is this false child adoption system that exists. So for any case where a family has a shape-shifting tanuki or anything else come into the family, they have the option of officially adopting them as their child. And so the rest of the story becomes the family figuring this out, whether they can or not. And the tanuki themselves, they aren't used to human living, the human lifestyle, so they also have to learn too how to be human. But at the same time, it's not how to replicate being human, but how to be who they want to be. And so a lot of it does have to do with identity as well. But yeah, it's an amazing manga, a very heartfelt one, an emotional manga that I do recommend. It's only 4 volumes long, so not a very long one. So it's a hard-hitting one, a lot of emotions, but it's wholesome. It's a very wholesome one, and I do think that if you are in the mood for something like that, some family manga that focuses on growing together, The False Child is a very, very good one for that. I love this one. Honestly, I wish it kept going for longer, but at the same time, I thought it ended at a really good spot as well. That part of me that wants it to keep going is just a biased part of me that wants every good story to go on forever, but you can't really have that all the time. But yeah, that was Uso no Koromo, finished in 2024, which was only only a couple months ago it finished. So let's move on to the next manga. I don't know where I left it. Let me go get it. Here it is. Okay, I put it back on my shelf accidentally. This one is called Forget Me Not by Mai Okafuji, and this one was published in 2020. So this manga is a romance. It's a yuri manga, so a girls' love manga. This big format, and what it is, it's a sort of drama because the premise of this story is that we here have, what's her name, Junko, yeah, Junko, and Ai. So what happens is that we start off the story with actually Junko's boyfriend Kon had passed away from a car accident in high school, and Ai is actually Kon's sister. So the start of the story is both of them overcoming their grief of, you know, Junko losing her boyfriend and Ai losing her brother. But what progresses from that is their relationship and their feelings for each other. But it's not a smooth sailing thing, definitely. It's, you know, both of them are in the choir and they go closer as they talk to each other more. But it's a relationship that has ups and downs. It's a tough one to navigate, and a lot of the story looks at how time affects a relationship, and the question is, you know, who will it impact the most? And this was it's another heartfelt story, but it's more leaning towards the sadder side of things because it's not a perfect relationship that pops up, and it's tough. It's a really tough situation to sort of navigate. And in terms of her manga, Mai Okafuji, I do have some of her other manga. I have not read them yet. I accidentally bought 2 copies of the same one. But just from looking at the other manga that she's created, she also does these sort of drama or romances or slice of life stories that focus on similar things. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil the ending for this. This is not published in English. Unfortunately, I don't think any of Mai Okafuji's works are published in English, but this was a pretty solid yuri manga that deals with a lot of those negative emotions and vulnerable, turbulent relationships, especially coming after a really traumatic event that is related to loss, you know, Kon's death in high school. Yeah, would recommend this one too if you can read Japanese, but hopefully in the future Okafuji's works will be translated into English. So yeah, read this one earlier this year, loved it. And now we'll go into the last series. This is kind of a series that is the opposite. It's a series, well, I got a love-hate relationship with it, mostly hate, to be honest. This one is called Coffee Moon, and this was written and drawn by Mokito Bota, and this published from 2020 to 2024. Only recently just finished. I've got 5 volumes here. There are actually 6 volumes. The 6th volume came out very recently. But Coffee Moon, the first thing that I was, I got interested in was the name, right? Coffee Moon is a really interesting title. And the second thing as well, the art is amazing. So one of the biggest strengths of this manga is its art. And so the premise of this is that we have this main character who is stuck in a time loop. So every single day they are reliving their birthday. So they wake up, everything happens as normal. They go to sleep, the day restarts again. So they can do different things during the day, and some things will change depending on the actions that they take. But at the end of the day, it will always reset to her birthday. So, like, looking at the art right now, amazing. Like, seeing all of this very dark, this dark world it's pretty creepy. Like, you can tell it's sort of dystopian, and it is dystopian. But yeah, it's a time loop series that's starts off very strong with its sense of mystery. You trying to figure out why this is like this, how this time loop works, and what ends up happening in the first chapter, at the end of the first chapter, is that one person finally sort of confronts her and knows about the repetition of her day. So this is her friend here. It's the first time that anyone knows about her repeating the same day over and over, and that kickstarts the rest of the story. So what I'll say is, for the first 3 volumes, the mystery and the things you learn along the way, the characters that you meet are amazing. There's always this sense of urgency behind everything, just because, you know, it's the day is repeating over and over again. It's pretty much just torture at that point. But if you see here, art is always so good. But yeah, the first 3 volumes are navigating this mystery. There are a lot of cool things that happen. Let me just find, if I could find like one. I also really love the eyes as well. Really distinct eyes. Yeah, this is one double page spread here. This is really nice too. The time stopping. This one here. This is like out of a movie. It looks like it's out of a movie, to be honest. And it's just, yeah, it's crazy. So the first 3 volumes, I'll just quickly flip through them there. Continues with these 3 characters. We are introduced to more characters as well. Even more nice color illustrations. But yeah, it's about figuring out this world. Why has time stopped? Why are there certain people that can go against that, and figure out that our main character is stuck in a time loop. Who is controlling this time loop? Who is the authority in this world? Why is this world always rainy and cloudy? Because the sun does not come out in this world at all. So it's about figuring out all of that. But the thing is, why I said before that I had a love-hate relationship with this is because after the first 3 volumes or so, it shifts from a really interesting and engaging mystery sci-fi series that has amazing art and a great sense of just that urgency throughout. It shifts from that to your very typical shonen battle manga, which is really unfortunate, because honestly the art still is quite consistent, but the story just, like, to put it bluntly, devolves a lot into that very standard type of story where it's just people with powers fighting each other. It drops a lot of that intrigue that you get reading the story from the start, like, you know, trying to figure out everything, and it just instead becomes like a battle royale, which is, you know, super boring when it comes to a plot that started off so strongly. And something that, you know, this is an example, right, of one of the battle scenes. It just becomes that. It only becomes fighting with fights after fights, and none of it is interesting because it feels like the mangaka didn't really care anymore. Like, I'm being kind of frank here because I just kind of disappointed. It was really good. It was like going so well in the first couple of volumes, but yeah, unfortunately the story just became sidetracked to this just battle manga. And as you can see here, the art is still amazing. Of course, it's one of the best points of this manga, but it becomes just everyone gets powers. What happened to the world? What happened to the characters? We get characters that are introduced that don't really matter as much, and it's just it's unfortunate. It's just disappointing. But, you know, it's not a manga that I regret reading. Definitely not. I would still recommend for you guys to just try out the series, you know. Try out reading those first 3 volumes, because I think the start of it is super strong with the way it introduces the premise, the world, the characters. Really strong for the first 3 volumes. Whether you want to continue to know what happens is your choice. I probably wouldn't recommend it. it does, as I said, goes back into that normal battle royale sort of setting, and the ending as well was very rushed, I believe. Just from reading it, it did feel very quick of an end, and things were wrapped up a little bit too conveniently. So yeah, unfortunately, that is what I think about it. It's a love-hate relationship. Extremely strong first couple of volumes, then it quickly declines after that. But of course, it's still like, still has that appeal. Coffee Moon, really strong title, really strong art as well. But yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to check this out. This is not no, it's not officially translated in English, but we'll see. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be because of the ending. I don't know. I think it was like a general consensus that everyone agreed on. Whoever read this, a lot of the consensus was that, yeah, first couple of volumes, amazing, so strong. Last couple of ones, meh, devolved, that sort of thing. But yeah, that was just a couple of recent reads that I've had over this past year. Pulled a random couple out of the bookshelves. So hope you guys have enjoyed this one. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.